Do you find that the same emotional wound continues to surface no matter how much inner work you do? It's not because you're failing, it's because you're actually headed towards the deepest layer that most people never reach. Some wounds just take longer to heal. It can be one of those things that you may have attempted like many times to resolve or understand or fix or heal or transcend. And if you're watching videos like this, I'd have to imagine you're not new to the spiritual path. You probably have been going through a spiritual awakening for some time. And you might even have some tools in your tool belt that normally are quite helpful with healing and purging and releasing and things like that. But no matter what you do, no matter how many ways you go at it, it just keeps coming back. And I found it comes back when I'm least expecting it. You can be sitting out there, looking out at the ocean, at the beach, watching the dolphins jump, the sun is shining, you're sipping a nice margarita, and all of a sudden, for no discernible reason whatsoever, it surfaces. It's that knot of energy. Whatever it is, whatever it's connected to, it's there, and you can't hide from it because it's within you, and it keeps coming back. And you may have had momentary success where you thought you understood it, where you thought you released it, but nonetheless, week after week, month after month, sometimes year after year, it just keeps coming back. And it's like, what is the message here? What am I not getting? And I believe you're a courageous person and you're probably more than willing to go into the depths of it to see what it really is. But you just can't seem to. It's just there. It kind of lingers. It goes dormant for a time. But for me, I would find when I'm really relaxed, sometimes in like the quiet of the night, I'd wake up from a dream and all of a sudden, it's there. The first time I went through this, very much like you, I'm assuming, I was quite surprised, quite taken back by just the potency and like how specific I would say the emotions were. For me, it happened on ayahuasca. It was like my second or third night drinking ever in my life. And I was having a pretty good, productive ceremony, you might say. And then all of a sudden, I just felt this like bubbling up from the depths of energy and emotion. And it was almost like the plant medicine kind of like unlocked and set loose this pocket of energy within me. And it wasn't just a general feeling. It was quite specific. And for me, what it felt like was a combination of fear and dread and grief, all revolving around losing a child. And, you know, my first impression of this was like, what is this? Why am I feeling this way? I'm a parent. This concerns me. And I kind of make light of it, but it really, really concerned me, basically. And I couldn't sleep that night. And I spent the next like several days just obsessing about it. I couldn't shake it. I kept asking, why am I feeling this? Why am I feeling these very intense, sort of specific, extremely alarming and concerning feelings for no reason whatsoever? And what I found, as you may have found as well, that it's not necessarily connected to my life situation. Thank God. These feelings, as real as they can be, they're not really premonitions. They're more so echoes of the past. And once I realized that, like you maybe, I began to investigate. I wanted to stop feeling this way. That analogy I gave about being on the beach is very accurate. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. It doesn't matter how good things are going. This thing will sort of steal the show. It'll completely take over your thinking and your mood, and things could be wonderful on paper, but this becomes like a primary concern. And I couldn't heal it. I couldn't resolve it. And by that time on my journey, I was used to being at least a little bit patient with the healing process. But this didn't leave. This just stuck around, week after week, month after month. Even after a year, I would find myself lying awake at night, just, this thing is back. It's like there's this thing here. I don't yet understand it. It's coming back for a reason that I don't know what it is. And though I'm willing to look into it, willing to feel it, willing to face it, willing to confront it, willing to do anything to stop feeling it, I got no answers. It didn't really help. It just kept coming. And for years, I would bring this, and this was like my intention every time I drank plant medicine, every time I would do breath work or any of my chosen healing modalities. This was what I brought to the table. And I'd ask God sincerely, please, please, please lift this from my body. It's completely taking over my life. And then one day I found out what it was. It was another ayahuasca ceremony, it was actually like several years later, believe it or not, like 2 or 3 years later. I was drinking ayahuasca and I realized that these feelings were connected to at least what I would best describe as a past life. I can see I lost children in a past life to a fire, some kind of accident, and it was my fault. And oh my God, when that awareness hit me, it made sense, honestly. And I was actually quite relieved because now I'm like, okay, well this makes sense why I'm feeling these feelings, because apparently in another lifetime, as you can imagine, I didn't really know what to do with all that energy and feeling. And I think it sort of like stuck in me, stuck in my soul as kind of like a karmic blow, a karmic wound that I've been carrying who knows how long. And finally, I understand it. Finally, it's beginning to go away. And in that realization, I felt finally, for the first time, that whole length of time, free. It was gone. Until it wasn't gone. A week later, boom, it's back. Same feeling, same intensity, another puzzle to figure out. And I was getting frustrated and discouraged and just like wondering what the heck is going on. Who do you go for with this type of issue? I knew I couldn't see a psychologist. They wouldn't probably understand. Maybe some of them nowadays, but at that time I didn't think I could. I talk about it with my wife, and she no one can help you with this. No one can take this away. It's you and your mind and your body and this feeling, and you know in your gut it's serious and you can't deal with it. You don't know what to do. I thought I healed it. Here I am once again. And then, believe it or not, another ayahuasca ceremony opened up another layer of it. I had this vision of my grandfather just sobbing, just retching, sobbing, in a way where if you were to see like this vision of mine, you would know exactly what it was about, because only losing a child could make a grown man do that. And it was so painful to watch, and I could feel it. I was like empathizing with him, and it was in my mind, it was like, oh, that's what this is. It's ancestral trauma. It's not even mine. Maybe I made that whole past life thing up in my head to try to, as in a desperate way, to understand it. But now I understand it's my grandpa stuff. And that realization helped me create more space with it, knowing that this is not even mine to carry. Until it didn't go away after that. I thought I finally licked it. I finally understood what I thought was the core of it. Nope, mistaken once again. 6 months later, maybe, finally, it came up, and I was able to finally go into like the absolute heart of it. It was during a somatic breathwork ceremony, and what came up for me was this realization that this is actually something I've experienced. And finally, I was able to express that energy, and I found myself literally wailing these animalistic, primal, just wails of agony. What I must have done when I finally discovered that horrible awareness that I had lost a child. And I got to like almost relive it emotionally. And I yelled and I wailed until my voice was completely shot and my body was completely exhausted. And as you're probably hinting at right now, no, that still wasn't it. How could that not be it? Other ceremonies would come and go, and there's connections to my childhood, connection to the conditioning that rubbed off from my parents. And what I found is that these knots of energy, they contain many, many, many different layers. There's not just one answer. And even after I went and I sort of addressed at least what I thought to be all the different layers, what I found is in the end, even though I did make a big dent in it, you might say, I was a little bit like honestly messed up from it, because psychologically, it was just a very unusual thing to deal with that I felt burdened with for so many years. And I found that even after the healing cycles kind of went away, I was still like paranoid, and my thinking had sort of been affected and infected by this overall experience. And finally, about a year after that, I drank ayahuasca another time, and I was able to kind of reprogram myself, you could say. I was able to kind of like rid myself of those echoes and residual conditioning. So you're probably wondering why I'm going into great lengths of telling you about my own personal story. One, just to be relatable to you, so you know that I've gone through it and I know what it's like. And now to tell you that I finally am, I can say, knock on wood, for several years I've been over that, and I can just tell. And what I found is that what I was seeking was some kind of climactic aha moment and release. And I had many of them, but none of them were it. The way it really worked out for me is all of a sudden, I just would wake up one day and realize that, oh, I don't really think about that anymore. Circumstances that used to kind of trigger that energy, it just no effect. It's just not there anymore. What I can say looking back now that hopefully will be of service to you, which is why I'm making this video, is that I now know why I didn't heal it as quickly as I thought. There was so much to it, as you can see. And I now know that my psyche, it was already quite affected at the pace I went as it is. And if I would have gotten my wish to just go through it all at one time, I honestly didn't think it was humanly possible. I think there's a reason these take time to heal, these deeper wounds. And it's a blessing and it's a gift. And I can look back and see that there was like an orchestration the entire time, even during times when I didn't think there was. I can see now that I was always kind of guided through this experience. And what I realized, and you can take this for what it's worth, I can't validate this, but I honestly think it. There was another time I had this vision of my grandfather, and he was like, I couldn't, it was a vision, but what I picked up from it is that he was appreciative of what I was doing. Like this work, this madness that I was sort of wrestling with for a few years there, it was somehow helping him, unburdening him of all the unprocessed grief and agony and trauma of that experience. Also with my past lives, which I believe are parallel incarnations, and that there are versions of me going through that right now that I'm able to kind of lighten the load for them. Also, I can see how this was passed on through my lineage, and I was like an unlucky recipient of it, and I don't have to pass this on to my children. I'm breaking the cycle, and so are you. You're breaking the cycle, my friend. And just know that the work you're doing is very, very helpful and very, very needed, and only a strong soul like you could do it. I was at my porch this morning having a little fire, as I do most mornings. And I tried something different this time. I found this huge log, and I found myself kind of courageous and I wanted to see if I could like burn it in the fire. And so what I had to do is I had to build a bunch of I had to keep adding sticks to it basically, because this log would not really catch, it would not really light. But eventually I was persistent enough, and that log finally caught fire. And then after a couple hours, my son came out and he kind of rekindled the fire and kept working with that log with the coals and things like that. And then finally it broke in two. And now if I go out there, there's like almost nothing left of it. And just know that, my friend, your fire is big enough and strong enough and lasting enough to burn even those big logs that you're wrestling with. I don't envy you. I know it's hard to do what you're doing. And I'm going through it now with a new thing, a whole new pocket of energy, a knot of dense energy that apparently I am needing to contend with. And what I've learned is that it's a matter of just having patience and trust and faith. And you don't need me to give you faith. You can look no further than throughout your own journey. And I bet if you just take a moment to really like take in and ponder the different miracles that you've experienced over the years, the question is, why would this be any different?